Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elaine Fennelly, and I'm the CEO of Crystal Valley Tech. I promote the amazing tech culture and tech jobs that we have in the southeast of Ireland. I'm delighted today to be part of the brilliant Toys4Engineers conference, which is growing from strength to strength every year. And I was so delighted that it wasn't cancelled this year, that in fact we are online. And there's been a brilliant series of events so far. So check out all of the other events that are up and coming. So today I'm delighted to have two people on my panel, Ronan Murphy and Anne-Marie McSorley. So rather than me telling you all about them, I'm going to give the guys a few minutes because we've got plenty of time. This is a relaxed lunchtime chat. Enjoy your sandwiches or your blaz if you're in Waterford. Ronan, gentlemen first, tell us a little bit about you, your company.
Yeah, so my name is Ronan Murphy. I'm the founder and chief executive of SmartTech 247, and we are a cybersecurity company. Now, the term cybersecurity is very broad, right? It's a bit like saying I'm in the building industry. You could be a plumber or a carpenter or a block layer. We kind of do everything. So we're involved in every aspect of cybersecurity, and our clients are everything from mid-sized companies to massive global corporations who are fundamental in, say, global supply chain of software and of energy and so forth. So we get to probably see an awful lot of the underbelly of the internet and a lot of the very sinister side of cybercrime. We would have been very heavily involved in the recent HSE attack. And it's a fascinating industry, and I think it's hopefully for your listeners, there might be some interesting aspects of it from a career progression perspective that we discuss later. I've been in the industry for probably about 20 years, and I think we've seen pretty much everything you can imagine from a cybercrime perspective over that period of time.
And that's great to hear, and you're very welcome, Ronan. I think with all your newfound fame with the HSE hack, everybody is familiar with you being on the airwaves. Anne-Marie McSorley, who I know very well from Crystal Valley Tech. Tell us a little bit about you and your journey to where you are now.
Okay, so thank you very much, Elaine and Linda, and for welcoming me today. My name is Anne-Marie McSorley. I'm the CEO of a company called Very. Very stands for verification, and unlike Ronan, similar to Ronan, I'm 20 years in the industry that I'm in at the moment. So we work all around the digitization of training programs. So we have all those digital services from the booking to the websites and very specifically around quality assurance and data, the data involved in delivering training information. So we help our clients really in three ways. We make sure that firstly that they save a lot of money, and previously in terms of cybersecurity, all personal data, all the information in people-led training would be on pieces of paper, in rooms, in boxes, and obviously sometimes costing thousands to store every day. So we've digitized that whole area. Secondly, we help to take the intelligence out of that data in real time and analyze it. And we're working on some interesting AI projects really about understanding the data that some of our participants in our programs are generating for us, and understanding how we can make the programs run better. So from the digitization of the programs to reducing costs and administration to the improvement is really what we do.
Excellent. And in both of your areas, in cyber and in all sorts of tech and digitalization roles, a lot of people want to get into those areas. So as part of Crystal Valley Tech, myself, Anne-Marie and others, we go around to schools and we ask the students, like, what do you want to do? And the cyber and tech is coming up over and over again. But sometimes I think these students don't really know what those jobs are going to look like. So Ronan, tell us what you love about your job and what maybe you love not so much.
Yeah, okay. So I'll start with what I don't love so much, right? And the truth about cyber is it's an incredibly pressurized environment, irrespective of what area you're working in, because you must remember you're fighting a tsunami of constant attacks, of evolving attacks, of companies who are at the pin of their collar and trying to keep their business operational. And you've got very sophisticated adversaries who are trying to take your company down. And there's an old saying, you have to be right all of the time. They only need to be right once. So that type of environment will stimulate a certain type of personality, and other people, and I've seen it many times, people joining and after 3 weeks saying, this is not for me, I made a huge mistake. Cybersecurity sounds sexy, I like the idea of it. The reality is very different. But consequently, there's other people who love that challenge. They love to be on the front line of a very fast-paced, high-stakes poker, pressurized environment. When you take cyber, then, I mean, it's, again, I use the analogy of the building sector. There's many different areas, and literally anybody can work in cybersecurity. You don't necessarily need to be technical, whereas there's parts of it you have to be incredibly technical. There's governance, risk and compliance, there's big data, there's artificial intelligence, there's pen testing, there's vulnerability scanning, there's security operations centers, there's network architects, there's network engineering. It goes on and on and on. So the amount of opportunities are incredible. And one of the things that we do in SmartTech, I think very effectively, is when we bring graduates into our graduate program, we do some psychometric testing on them to identify where their strengths are and likely where they have potential to progress effectively within the industry. I would see a lot of guys and girls coming to the sector and saying, you know what, I want to be a pen tester. But to be a pen tester, you need to have incredible programming experience. You need to learn programming and coding before you can do that effectively. And suddenly they realize, oh, I don't like this coding piece. I just want to be a pen tester. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about what the roles involve. And I think as well, and this is a very important point I want to make, males and females just naturally look at problems differently. And what we find in this industry is there's a huge discrepancy in gender, right? It's 95% male. And not having the female perspective on how you look at problems, because all we deal with is problems, because customers are being attacked in many different ways. Not having the female perspective on the problems that we deal with and the adversaries that we're fighting against is a huge, huge issue in the industry globally. It's not just females. I think there's 2 million job vacancies in cybersecurity globally, and it's growing at an exponential pace. But there is a massive deficit in the gender balance, which is a huge problem. So, I mean, we're starting to see it improve. I mean, a lot of our team now are females, and we're proactively trying to attract females into the industry. But we're overall as an industry, cybersecurity is not doing enough to get enough females into the sector. So what do I love about it? I love being at the coalface of it. I love the fact that it's moving so fast. It's so dynamic. The types of challenges we're dealing with are enormous. But when we do get to protect our clients and keep them secure and demonstrate how we've done that effectively, that's incredibly rewarding. So I think ultimately it's a very rewarding job. And I would definitely encourage anybody, if they like, very fast paced, high stakes poker. It's a bit like being an air traffic controller. Cybersecurity is a great industry to get into, and it's only growing. It's growing at an incredible rate.
Oh, and Anne-Marie, similarly with you, when I was thinking of asking you this question, I was thinking, did you love coming into the work in the days when you were a startup with very little cash, or are you loving coming in now that you're more established and winning the bigger contracts? What gets you out of bed with a zip in the mornings?
I was laughing there listening to Ronan because he's obviously an adrenaline junkie, and they say that the two biggest fears in the world are death and public speaking, and training really is about public speaking. And I remember when I was younger, probably like Ronan, but when I was like properly a graduate, public speaking really was not confident at all. I would have struggled hugely with it. But it's amazing how it can, you know, we're all about skills-based, people-led training, even though we're digitizing that. So it is about being in front of people all the time, and really the transfer from being a trainer and you know, running a training business to having a tech business, isn't that different, Elaine, in terms of being a startup? It is really, you know, when we started 5 years ago, it was really around being able to communicate the problem people had and identify with them and being able to fill that gap. And, you know, Ronan's area, cybersecurity, GDPR in 2018 was something that was very relevant to us, because we were one of the first companies that was, you know, managing PPS numbers and stuff like that for skills-based training in a secure way, that they weren't in the back of somebody's Volvo and lying there for 3 weeks until somebody posts them off to the head office. You know what I mean? So, but like, this was what was happening in contracted training. So I suppose in terms of what I love about it is I'm still in front of people all the time, and I love people. I really engage and love the engagement. But one of the other things I really enjoy is we've 14 people now, and a lot of our graduates are from Waterford or IT Carlo, and you know, one guy particularly just comes to mind. He came in to us from a level 6, and you know, that's not high level computer programming, but just a couple of years later, he's now managing an AI project that we have, and he is great because he has actually got interpersonal skills. He was able to when he was on his placement at level 6, he was able to take to the phones, talk to people, you know, understand the front end of what we do. And then as he studied, he was able to get working with the more senior developers and understand code. And then now he's able to like look at the application of more sophisticated technology to the back-end data, but the use case as well. So it's really nice that you can bring people that are, you know, you don't have to be the full stack top end. I think Ronan said that you don't have to be the most senior developer in the world. You know, interpersonal skills can be really important, and they can be a role in companies like ours to fulfill. But I do think it is important that you like data, and you like you're excited by what advances can do and improve things.
And in terms of what part of your job you're not enjoying that much, what is it, Anne-Marie?
I suppose it's still very busy. You know, you start 5 or 6 years ago and you go, next year it'll be better, next year it'll be easier. And it just, you know, it's kind of like, if you weren't busy, it would be a problem. But the fact it's a bit of a monster, you create a monster, you know what I mean? But I enjoy that as well. I enjoy it, but sometimes work-life balance can be a little tricky. But I do think for those younger people looking into this area of digital companies or cybersecurity, you know, the ability to learn so much is, you know, you really can progress so fast. It's not something, you're not going to go in and do the same thing every day for the next week, never mind the next year, never mind the next 5 years. So sometimes when I'm over 50, so sometimes the overload of constant change is there. And sometimes the energy levels are a little less. But I think it's a great place for young people to get involved.
And I know, Anne-Marie, from visiting your premises and knowing some of your staff, I know you'd relate to Ronan's point about bringing diverse, you know, genders onto teams and the difference it makes. Do you think there's a cultural aspect that we're missing out on too, by having, you know, if we have all white, Irish males, it's a totally different type of team than having different genders and different races, different cultures?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our operations managers, engineer, and she's from Belarus. And I shouldn't say this online, but I will. She'll kill me. But her strap line in the company is "chop chop, shut up." and for me, I'm a much more touchy-feely kind of how you feeling today kind of person. But actually bringing two people like that onto a senior management team creates a great dynamic, you know what I mean? And it's the same with, you know, I'd nearly be accused, we've probably 70-80% women in our business. We had a really nice girl that came out of IT, Carlo, worked with us for the last 3 years at engineering and just got a big jump up to a new company, to Microsoft. And I was delighted for her, absolutely thrilled for her. But we lost a lot out of her tech team by having somebody really involved in the tech team, you know, sort of senior as a female. So it is hard to get those engineers, isn't it, Roland? It's hard to get female engineers, you know, at the moment. There just isn't that many of them. But there are loads of roles and diversity. We have 2 or 3 people from South Africa, Russia, that are remote, as well as Irish people, and then we have quite a few sort of people that we're ingratiating into Kilkenny, the a great Indian guy, and so you know that it makes for an interesting place to work. And actually age is important too. I mean, some of our most important members of staff are, you know, sort of in their 60s, and some of them are in their 20s, but the learning between those two people is really important as well.
Very good. Ronan, in terms of what Anne-Marie was talking about, people from different places and people working from home, have the companies around Ireland suffered by allowing people to working from home, and then does that open them up to weak firewalls and cyber attacks?
Okay, well, look, firstly, I think everything that Anne-Marie said, I mean, I entirely agree with everything she said. And I mean, having different perspectives, whether it's age or gender or nationality, are extremely important. And there is a huge shortage of skills globally in anything to do with technology. And for us, we've had to cast our net wide. So we've offices in New York, in Krakow, in Belfast, in Bucharest. So we've kind of a global footprint in order to give us the kind of skills that we need to get. In terms of COVID and remote working, I mean, it's been a barn burning year in terms of cybersecurity. These guys have been having a field day. They typically thrive very well in times of great uncertainty, and they find many ways to monetize that fear. I mean, I'm sure everybody on the call is very familiar with getting their DHL or FedEx text message for their Amazon parcel, phishing emails, every type of attack you can possibly imagine. And they expedite it at a rate like nothing I've ever seen. And the bad guys have become mainstream. It feels like back in 2012, there was a large retailer in the US called Target who were hacked. And I remember thinking, this is it, cybersecurity is going to go crazy. Well, every year we've said that. And the reality is last year it became mainstream. And the attacks, the ferocity of them, the volume of them, the sophistication of them, the money that's involved is just frightening. So it's become a huge problem. In fact, a lot of what myself and Anne-Marie are talking about, it's kind of referred to in technology circles as the fourth industrial revolution, right? Mm. A lot of people have heard that term bandied about, but that's really kind of defined by digital transformation. And if I were to kind of put in that in buckets, right, I would say cybersecurity obviously is a big part of that. Big data is a big part of it. And as Anne-Marie, what she's talking about in her daily job, they have tons of data. And then they figured out as a business, you know what, we need to put AI and automation on this data to extract value out of it. And then probably the final pillar is so you've AI, you've cybersecurity, you've big data, and then you've regulation. You've companies, you've governments, you've countries coming in saying, we need to regulate crypto, we need to regulate data, we need to regulate how you process it, how you collect it. There's macro regulation like GDPR and CCPA coming in, but you also have industry specific regulations, whether it's insurance or banking or healthcare or whatever else it might be. So regulation is really becoming an onerous challenge for businesses of all sizes. And you're seeing companies like Anne-Marie's company, like SmartTech, who are now having to innovate and embrace AI and machine learning to be in a position where we can extrapolate value out of that data. And interestingly, every company I don't care what you do. Every company is now becoming a tech company. And in your business, if you're not embracing data and AI and ML and automation and the web in ways to streamline your business, all you have to do is look at your competitor in a different jurisdiction or different region, and I can guarantee you they are. So companies are having to look at it, and I mean, it's great to hear Anne-Marie talking about how they're bringing people up along the skills pipeline and moving from being you know, an entry level to kind of a senior person managing an AI product or a product lead. And then obviously if Microsoft are poaching your staff, then that's a huge compliment. But at the same time, it's a huge problem. Ireland has a massive problem with FDI, because obviously we're a country that very much embraces FDI. I know I'm on a Chamber of Commerce call now, so I can't knock that. But Indigenous small SME Irish companies are competing head on with the large FDI companies, which is a problem as well. So there's a skills shortage. It's probably a whole debate in its own right. But I think a lot of business owners of Indigenous Irish companies feel like it's a big challenge to compete with some of the big FDI organizations in the country. So I don't want to get too political on a chamber call, but
well, Toys and Chamber. But no, I hear what you're saying, and certainly around the southeast, we have suffered with. It's very complicated. A lot of the tech companies have lost senior people because they are now working for Dublin and international firms because they can stay at home. And then it's gone another wave where now they're expected to be in Dublin 2 days a week, and they're going, "Hey, I didn't sign up for this." But the corollary is you're now able to hire people who are based anywhere. Anne-Marie, how do you think that's all going to play out over the next couple of years, location and skills?
Yeah, I so again, really agree with Ronan. We're very much aligned on the same page. I think the whole FDI thing is definitely a problem. I found within a couple of months of COVID, the FDIs were coming after our staff because a lot of the smaller companies were kind of shaky and, you know, didn't know. We work with a lot of public sector agencies, you know, for large training program delivery, like sort of EU or things like that. And a lot of them just shut the door for a few months because they just didn't know what to do. So they just stopped. So then there was this, you know, insecurity in the companies, in the smaller companies for a while as to what was going to happen. And, you know, the FDIs were able to jump in because they're bigger. So obviously state support is really, really important. And I have to say that, you know, the government has done well. They've rolled out a lot of good support mechanisms, and our company has, after a first, you know, few months of very worrying times with, you know, really worried about our clients that work in the public sector, you know, things have really grown hugely after that, you know. So it is hard to predict, you know, like nobody would have predicted any of this. In terms of the finding staff, you know, it is difficult to decide, you know, when you're at, I don't know, actually, Ronan, I didn't do my homework enough. I don't know what numbers you're at. We're at like 15, which is, you know, it's kind of the cusp of small to large or to bigger. I won't say large, but to bigger. And it is a decision as to, you know, how you scale different elements of your business. So there is the option of keeping an in-house team of technologists and maybe outsourcing as well. That's, you know, that's the option. There is the option of taking on apprentices and growing your own. And there's a really good, actually, one of the guys that was junior with us was looking for a cyber course, and there's an apprenticeship coming out next year with LIT. And I would have put him on that this year, but it's actually, I got all excited when I found it because, you know, apprenticeship allows them to work with the company. And then, but there are some traineeships as well, Elaine, you know, within the ETB sector here in Waterford and Carlow as well. So growing your own, outsourcing, you know, there is a lot of options, and it's about trying to do the one that fits best for your clients more than anything else, you know. So we're doing a little bit of everything at the moment.
Ronan, a few years ago when we had the Celtic Tiger, there was a lot less people chose the IT courses. They all went on to do building related type courses, anything from, skills like plumbing, electrician, there was engineers, surveyors. Are we at risk that we're going to lose people again? Because guess what? We are now heading into a period where the government, the country is going to start building big time again. Are people going to choose less IT, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting conundrum. I do probably feel that the world has definitely become a lot smaller since COVID, though. I mean, from people have really embraced remote working. And I'll be honest, right? I am kind of a little bit old school. I stayed in the office through the entire pandemic, right? I was in my office every single day. And my chief operations officer, a lady called Raluca, she said, look, the remote working will work. And she had all of our metrics and tracking performance and teams and all the collaboration tools. And I mean, based on all of our metrics, we performed better through COVID than we do when people are in the office. I know I'm still old school, right? I still like to see people. I like to meet people in the canteen and all that sort of good stuff. But I mean, it proves that it does work. So I think companies who want to innovate do need to look outside of Ireland in their ability to attract that talent. Now, a bit of advice. I mean, Anne-Marie's 100% right. You can build it in-house or you can outsource it. Now, there's pros and cons with both. Outsourcing is, especially for software development, is always risky. It's always got issues. It's good for certain aspects of it. But you could always look at, say, okay, we're going to build something and we're going to put together a proposal to Enterprise Ireland and get R&D grants from the government to help scale that, a bit like the FDI companies do. So there's pros and cons to both options, but definitely there's not enough skills on the island of Ireland. That's why it's such a good choice for people who are now evaluating their options to go into technology. But definitely organizations who are considering going down this route should definitely consider, other locations as well. We've a very big footprint in Bucharest in Romania. We've a very significant footprint in Krakow in Poland. And both locations have been very fundamentally important for our research and development teams, as well as Cork and Belfast, obviously.
Very good. And just a reminder to parents listening out there who are trying to influence and advise, their teenagers. Toys4Engineers has got a jobs deck. It's available on their website. It's on LinkedIn. It's on Twitter. And I think I counted there was over 700 jobs in the Southeast across the fields of tech, pharma, and IT. So have a look. If you are non-technical yourself and you're thinking to yourself, where is the future? Have a little skim through the jobs deck, see what kind of companies are hiring, and use that as a guide to maybe advise and to talk to, the teenager in your house who over the next couple of years is going to be making choices about where their future lies. Now, I think we're going to take a little break, and I think we've got some of the Toys4Engineer adverts coming up.
We're tremendously excited about the SmartTech 247 no-fish platform. Email is a huge problem. Currently, the world is experiencing an epidemic of ransomware attacks, and the typical attack vector for this is email. We see it on a daily basis in our Security Operations Centre, and we wrestle with that challenge. We've built no-fish so that users within an organisation, when they get targeted with phishing emails, they can simply click on the no-fish icon in their Office 365 email client. That will immediately sandbox that email. It'll inform our Security Operations Centre analysts about the threat, and then they can very, very quickly update all of the security settings so that other people within that organisation are not affected by these specific types of attack. Now, this is a huge problem. It's a problem globally which is only getting worse, and therefore we feel that the no-fish platform is fundamentally very important. Its use of AI to extract data from emails and understand the threats that our clients are facing have never been more important, and we're excited to roll it out.
Hi, I'm Liam Curran, CEO of DataWorks. We're in operation for over 25 years with over 40 employees, providing software and validation services to some of the world's leading medical device and pharmaceutical companies. We provide a full suite of software and validation services to help them address their critical needs, which are mainly compliance, operational efficiencies, and continuous improvement. We provide three main offerings to our clients. One is software solutions to help our clients achieve their digital transformation objectives. That would include eliminating manual and paper-based processes like delivering electronic batch records. It would also include the real-time visualization of metrics to allow them make more informed decisions about their operation. We also provide a full suite of validation services, everything from software validation to equipment validation, process automation, and laboratory validations. Finally, we provide a full suite of outsourced software managed services where we provide everything from level 1 support right through to maintenance of business on their core applications. We provide these services for both multinationals based in Ireland and also in the US and Europe. At the moment, there's a perfect storm going on. There's a clear appetite among our clients to progress their digital transformation strategy. Secondly, people are having to deal with what everyone is calling the new norm, where we have a mixture of remote working and obviously key people working on site. The third piece is this new, platform that we're working with, which is the Microsoft Power Platform. And bringing the three of those together in collaboration with our clients really helps our clients accelerate their transformation journey. Examples of this will be where we are working with clients to address how they conduct their daily tiered meetings. Some of this invariably involves patching in people that are based off-site, and by us bringing together these tools, which include integrating Microsoft Teams with the Microsoft Power Platform and people on site, it's allowing us and our customers indeed to conduct these meetings in a very efficient manner and to leverage these technologies to even make them more efficient than before. So really it's correct application of technology in this kind of scenario in collaboration with our clients that's really helping both of us progress them along their journey. In addition to the use case I mentioned there in terms of daily tiered meetings, we've developed a full suite of applications from health and safety to operational excellence and operations management, coupled with Power Automate flows, which help automate their processes and link other applications together, including Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and some of their core applications. If your company is engaged in digital transformation and you'd like to find out more about how we've collaborated with some of the world leaders in progressing their digital transformation strategy, we'd be delighted to hear from you.
Innovate by name. We innovate by nature. Hundreds of businesses across Ireland already trust our one-to-one IT solutions and managed service to maximize efficiency and effectiveness. Our services include cloud and IT infrastructure, network, unified communications, security, and productivity. And because we do what we say we will, we're growing fast, well on our way to becoming Ireland's leading managed IT and cloud service provider. Our best-in-class technology delivers truly bespoke, affordable systems that are better for your bottom line, today and tomorrow. Our 24/7 proactive performance monitoring is also guiding your future growth. It's all made possible by the power of Cisco and Microsoft's best-in-class technology, and it's changing the way businesses across Ireland work, for the better. To find out how our networked IT solutions and personal service can make your business work smarter, contact the Innovate team today. Innovate, the IT solutions people.
Welcome back to our lunchtime Toys4Engineers Waterford Chamber of Commerce session with Ronan Murphy and Anne-Marie McSorley. So great, interesting first half. So I want to throw out a few random questions to you both. Ronan, if you had millions, would you go up to space?
I had millions. Yeah, I might go up and not come back. No, it wouldn't. It's not on my agenda right now. I think we have enough problems here on Earth to fix rather than go to space.
I heard that William Shatner, age 90, might be going up to space in the next Musk venture. So that's very interesting. Anne-Marie, would you?
Not at all. No, not even maybe. I would actually love to travel a bit more. I had 3 kids by the time I was 25. So I didn't get much going on in my 20s that everybody else got to do. So and then started this business in my 40s. So no, if I get some time and some money, I'm going on a world tour, not a space tour.
Oh, very good. Ronan, are you a gadget man? Do you love your bit of tech?
Do I love my bit of tech? The answer, that's a good. Not really. Not really.
Yeah, these are some of the questions I was asked to ask you guys. Anne-Marie, what piece of tech are you using every day that surprised you that it was so good and has changed your life, other than your phone, of course?
Yeah, the phone is the obvious one. I'm actually, my kids say that they can't believe that that I have a software company because I can't program the Sky Remote. So I'm not a tech founder. I love Alexa. I think Alexa is lovely. I think it's a nice lifestyle tool and works with your kind of your eating and your Saturday morning radio and your brain wanting to know more about something you've just seen. So I think Alexa, the voice control stuff's interesting.
Well, obviously all of the kids growing up now, they're so used to the Ring doorbells, the Alexas, and all of the gadgets. Ronan, how difficult is it nowadays to induct somebody into your business, a new recruit, given that the rules of meeting them have been so skewed?
Yeah, I think we've got really good at that. So as a company, you reach a particular level of scale and managing humans becomes a problem, right? Humans become a big issue because you've hired wrong, you've people in the wrong jobs or wrong positions, and you end up having to spend a lot of time, energy, effort, and money in either managing people out or managing people's expectations into different roles. So we took a decision probably early on in COVID to invest heavily in psychometric testing. And the reason that's important is that it allowed us to very quickly identify, based on best practice, where these people's skill sets lay, right? And would they be good in one specific area or in a different part of the company, or maybe they're not a fit at all, right? Now, this isn't the be all and end all of whether you hire someone or not, but I would say it has made a profound difference in our ability to evaluate candidates effectively and to position them in roles within the company, because we have a lot of roles, a lot of different departments, position them effectively in those roles and get the most out of them. And that's actually made us far, far better at hiring people and understanding their strengths and their weaknesses in that process. And I think for any company that gets to a specific scale, I could not recommend making that type of investment in that type of software enough. I think it's really important.
Where did you get the idea from?
We felt we were spending too much time with HR issues, having the wrong skill sets in the wrong areas of the company, not fully understanding people's capability. And I was on an Enterprise Ireland leadership course, and somebody said to us that it had transformed their business. We said, you know what, let's try it out. And I would say, it's been a real eye opener to us as a company. Now, look, the specific scale you need before it makes sense, but for us, it's been a big game changer, I would say, and it's made our onboarding and inducting far, far better.
That's very good advice to people listening out there. And in terms of influencing your company, Anne-Marie, we touched on regulation earlier. How important has that been to Very?
Yeah, I could really align. I love that biometric testing idea. I did a little bit of it through my training career and really see the relevance, and might be putting that on my to-do list as well, Ronan, for the future. But in terms of regulation, that was one of the actual reasons that we set up our company. I was working in accredited, government-funded programs that needed massive amount of data points to profile people, to validate that they were there, to evidence them, to track their progression. And, you know, without that regulation on quality, we wouldn't have had the requirement. But I could just see that this was building all the time. And recently I spoke to an economist who said that, you know, the economies all work in sort of in a cyclical, you know, so it's kind of to do with capitalism and, you know, the markets move and everything. But at some stages, you know, post wars and post pandemic, regulation comes in and becomes more, you know, it stifles free trade to a certain degree. Or if it doesn't stifle it, people need to get more agile in the way they handle it. And that's really Ronan, to talk to Ronan's point earlier on, is that, you know, this is not a like to have or an option. You have to be compliant, you know, whatever that is, whether it's GDPR or whether it's funding mechanism or whatever it is. So making the choice to do that in a lean digital way is it's the one that is the most obvious. And there's still so many small businesses that haven't disrupted their paper processes yet. It's amazing out there. And there are a lot of really good solutions, but, you know, I think the regulatory side of things is only going to get more.
I think so. And if you're struggling in your company with too much paperwork, get in touch with Anne-Marie, very.ie. That's the right website. Ronan,
thanks
one of the other questions I was people were really interested when they knew I was talking to you was they're really struggling to staff their organizations in a lot of the tech and engineering roles. How are the scammers getting all of these people? Because to do the scale of the cyber attacks, they must have like access to data, platforms. Where are their people coming from?
So there's a couple of misconceptions when you talk about cybercrime, right? Everybody anticipates that it's one gang and that gang are attacking people, right? It's not. It's an entire ecosystem. And it's an ecosystem of buyers and sellers and different actors, threat actors who've different skill sets. So for example, if I went on the dark web now, I could say, okay, I want to hack a telecommunications company. Is there anybody in here selling access to a telecommunications company? And suddenly you've got a guy who specializes in spamming telecommunication companies, and he has managed to get what we call a bot on a user within that telecommunications company. He will then sell that access to somebody who's got very good skills at escalating privileges within that user's laptop, right? So that they can jump onto their cloud or their network or whatever it is, right? And then once they get on, they might go to the ransomware guys and say, you know what? I'm sitting inside in the HSE. We stole somebody's credentials. Would you guys like to run ransomware? And what the ransomware guys will then say to them is, they'll say, okay, we'll make you an affiliate. We'll pay you 20% of whatever we get paid. So they have a whole affiliate network running. There's a whole ecosystem of buyers and sellers. There's thousands of people involved in it. And the money is obscene. I mean, the amount of money these people are earning is you only hear about a fraction of it, and a fraction. It's incredible. I mean, we deal with it every day of the week, where we help companies when they decide to make payments. The scale of the money that these guys are earning is incredible. It's a bit like you've opened Pandora's box. The cat is out. Everybody now knows, these guys know how much money they can make. Why would they walk down the main street in Waterford and rob a bank when there's a 95% chance they'll get caught? They can try and rob a bank electronically, and there's a 99.9 chance they'll never get caught, and they'll get a lot more money. So it's growing. They're able to attract people because of the money. Typically, the skills that you're finding from a mathematical perspective and an IT engineering perspective are simply a little bit better in Eastern Europe. And a lot of the attacks we see come from Asia. A lot of that is state-sponsored, but a lot of it coming from Russia, from Ukraine, from Romania, and different areas of Eastern Europe.
Wow. Anne-Marie, I presume you've had employees working at home over the period. Have you been concerned about, data and security and firewalls?
Yeah, and I'm really pleased we brought in a guy from Smurfit and with an engineering background about a year ago, and probably 9 months ago now, and he took on that role fairly quickly for us, just to ensure everybody was working securely and safely within the platforms that we've chosen to work in. You know what I mean? If you're working in Google and the G Suite, there's good security protocols. Our cloud is with Google as well. We won Google Adopt a Startup 5 years ago, so they have been very good partners for us in our hosting and in our security. So I don't know, Ronan, if you think what you think of Google as a supplier.
I mean, look, it's irrespective of if you're with Google or Microsoft or Amazon. It's really down to best practice within the organization. And it looks like you guys have, you've made an investment in somebody to come in and review it and have best policies and practice. And you could be it doesn't matter if you're with Google or you're with Amazon. If you don't do the basics right, you're going to have problems. So the fact that you're taking it seriously and you've got somebody helping you with that, I'm sure you're in a good place.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I could completely agree, though. It would have been something that, when everybody's on site here. Now, I'd never really worried too much about the technologist, because they're clinical and they have their own, policies and procedures around, ensuring the health of the system. But it's really the ancillary services that you would worry about. It's those that the technologists themselves have fairly good expertise and knowledge and policies and procedures, whereas like Ronan says, it's the ABCs, it's everybody else involvement. It's a bit like COVID itself. If you do your basics and wash your hands, you're going to be okay, but if you're not washing your hands, you're increasing the risk.
There's a saying I sometimes use, and it's, if you're walking along with somebody and you meet a bear and the bear is going to kill you, you don't need to be faster than the bear. You just need to be faster than the person you're with, right? And I think cybersecurity is the same, right? If you're in a specific industry, all you really need to do is be better than the person, your competitor, because cybercrime typically ebbs towards the lowest denominator in terms of who's putting protection in. And if you're too hard to hack, they'll just move to there's lots of low-hanging fruit for them to attack. So, a bit like when the bear comes, you just need to be faster than the person you're with.
Sorry, Ronan. In terms of cybercrime, every time I'm in my parents' house, the phone is ringing. It's an Amazon scam. And I often wondered, are these cyber criminals making most of their money from corporations or from vulnerable individuals that they're ringing up?
Yeah, both. There's different people who specialize in different aspects of it. You've got the kind of the low cost jurisdictions in the Philippines and so forth, who've got call centers of people who get paid $2 a week, and their job is to target the masses. You've got the more sophisticated syndicates then that are targeting the enterprise. So it varies. We see hundreds of cases of individuals losing their life savings. They only need one of those to pay for 6 months of their call center activity. So yeah, probably the commercial guys are making more, but the other guys are happy with what they're making too. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
And in terms of like young people these days, everything is online. They're putting everything about themselves up. I'm looking at TikTok videos, and I've only put that app on my phone, and I've just been horrified.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And just look, I'm not sure the age of all of the listeners, but we see a huge amount of, I'm going to be delicate in my language on how I describe this. We deal with a huge amount of very significant mental health problems where young people have exploited themselves on social media platforms because they've been duped into doing it. Once they've done that, the person who's duped them into doing it has access to all of their Facebook contacts, their mother, their father, their granny, their friends, their schoolmates, and they blackmail them. And some of the situations we've had to deal with are heartbreaking. If I was to give any advice to parents or to young people listening, is never, ever, ever put yourself in a compromising position, irrespective of who you are talking to or who you think you're talking to on Instagram or Snapchat or WhatsApp or TikTok or any of these platforms, because it will come back and bite you so hard. It's incredible. It's these guys make a fortune in exploiting young people through sextortion and through money muling. So you got to be really careful. It's a whole new problem that us as young people never had to deal with. And again, you have no idea the scale. The scale is just mind-boggling. Hundreds of people every day.
Marie, your thoughts on that as, you know, somebody who's been involved in education?
Yeah, it's funny really, because I used to run education programs. That was, you know, my main thing before I started the software company Ferry. But I remember being one of the first people on Snapchat, and my kids were all like 13, 14. They're now late 20s. But they were all, you know, it was the very beginning of Snapchat, and I was telling everybody this is going to go mad because of the nature of how dangerous it was back then. The fact that they thought that they were invincible because it disappeared. So it just really spoke to their risk taking, and every young person has a risk taking. So I can send a picture, but it's going to disappear, so it'll be fine, you know. I recently heard of a case very similar to what Ronan's talking about, and the police were brought in on the case, and police said this is like, these groups could be working, you know, there could be 20 young people targeted in one area, and the group could be from Asia. Yeah. But they could hone in on a group of 20 people and put a lovely girl on and encourage,
correct,
in, you know, behaviors that are not, that nobody be proud of, and then all of a sudden the blackmail comes, and the police have a whole ring of this going on, but they can do very little, you know.
In fact, there's nothing they can do.
Can do nothing.
There's nothing. There's nothing they can do.
Nothing.
If these guys are blackmailing you and they're saying, look, we've got these videos, we're going to send them to your network, my only advice is you delete everything. Delete your Instagram, your Snapchat, your email, because they'll drive you to, I've literally seen them driving young people to suicide. So don't ever get yourself in that position. Just be really, really careful.
Yeah, one piece of advice I used to have when I did workshops in schools about keeping yourself safe online, and this is like 10 years ago, this was at the beginning of everything, was take a holiday. Take 1 month, just take a holiday, you know, just go off everything for 1 month. You will be amazed how your life will change in a month, you know. And I think it's such a good idea. I still do it myself, because I find myself, my kids say I'm such a nerd because I scroll on LinkedIn all the time rather than on Facebook, but you know, but you know, it is addictive, and like there's loads of science behind that addiction and the stimulation you get from it. But I think that the point is that it's really important.
I think, Anne-Marie, it's toxic. I think it's toxic. I think Facebook is evil, and I think the whole thing is toxic, and it needs to be regulated, and it's a huge problem.
Is it not too late though? Is it not too late, Ronan? It's out there.
They have to do so. Well, I mean, kids are moving away from Facebook. They're moving to all of these new platforms, TikTok and so forth. But yeah, I mean, these platforms they're consuming every conceivable piece of data about you. I mean, you know, I laugh when people say they get this really annoying cookies pop up, right? And cookies seems like such a nice term, and people aren't really worried about it. But what it should read is, do we have your permission to track everything you do? And when you sign up to these platforms, you're letting these people track everything you do, take every bit of data about you, and then sell that to the highest bidder. And I don't think people fully understand that. I mean, and these guys are learning to cultivate and harvest this data at a rate that is mind-boggling. So, you know, these products aren't free. You're paying for them with giving them every single conceivable information about you, where you are, when you go there, what you like, what you look at, what you're going to buy, what you might buy. It's
scary.
And it's getting worse. They're getting better.
Yeah, and a lot, like, we're all aware that old people can be vulnerable and young kids can be influential. But Ronan, I'd imagine there's a very embarrassed middle-aged group out there as well. Not that they should be embarrassed, but maybe, they've been hacked or something's got on them, and you must see that the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it's middle-aged people are probably the most vulnerable, to be honest. And we've dealt with a lot of horror stories of, again, people losing their life savings because of extortion, for a whole pile of different reasons. It just feels like in the last 24 months, the problem and the sophistication of the ability of these people to target individuals has grown like nothing I've ever seen. And look, everyone who's listening knows you've got the text messages, you've got the phone calls, you've got the emails. It's unrelenting, and it's just getting more ferocious by the hour of every day, I would say.
So what does that mean for SmartTech? What are your goals now in the short to medium term?
Yeah, well, we've a pretty hectic few months ahead of us. We're listing on the London Stock Exchange in the coming kind of 8 weeks. So that's keeping us on our toes in terms of keeping all of our investors and so forth happy for the listing. But at the same time, I mean, as a company, we're fortunate that we're starting to win a lot of very large kind of global contracts with very large manufacturing and pharmaceutical giants globally. And obviously with each of those, we have to invest very heavily in project management, engineering, support, analysts, etc. So I think we've probably 50 open jobs at the moment. So I think we don't have any long-term goals. We've got lots of short-term goals. Yeah. If we can kind of stay on top of week by week at this stage, it's good,
That sounds very busy. Anne-Marie, what about you? What's the medium-term plans for yourself?
Firstly, I suppose, we've had a period of growth too. We've probably grown by 3 in the last 12 months. Like, there was only 5 or 6 of us, now there's 15, and we probably have 3 or 4. So on a much smaller scale, we're in that sort of growth period as well. And the value of the contracts that we've been involved in, I remember when I was setting up the company first, I thought I'd be selling my software for €10 a month, you know what I mean? And the values, of the clients gone from 100 to 100,000 contracts or more, you know what I mean? And understanding that and trying to scale that into UK. We have a Northern Ireland office last year or 2, and we've been doing a bit of business up there. So we really want to try to get into the UK now, because what we're doing seems to suit a lot of people. A lot of our clients in the public sector see huge value in what we can bring. So we think we can bring that across the water as well. So that would be our next big target.
Very good. Well, look, guys, I think we're coming up to the hour mark, and I want to thank you so much. We've covered a huge amount.
Elaine,
yeah.
If I could just make one comment before we wrap up, please.
Oh, please do.
I think Anne-Marie made a very good point at the start, where her kids were giving her a hard time for running, a software company and not being able to program the Sky remote. But I think something that's very important for people to understand, that whether you're going into any organization that's involved in digital transformation or cybersecurity or whatever it is, if you're somebody who's an expert at building algorithms and building machine learning models and all of that good stuff, you may look at them and you may say, that's so foreign to my capabilities to be able to do that. But you must remember what they build. They're looking at the people like Anne-Marie, who can articulate the value of what they build and communicate that in a business logic to a buyer. And in their world, that's black magic. Yeah. So why that point is important is that for young people who want to get into this industry, they have to remember that it doesn't matter if, you're not good at maybe mathematics or programming. There is people with different skills who can become extremely successful in different parts of the business, because the guys who are probably the most valuable people in any company are the people that can sell the product and they can articulate the value, but they couldn't write a line of code to save their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important takeaway for people who want to get into the industry and ask themselves the question, I know nothing about this. They probably have a skill that's needed, and it's needed somewhere within the business. And there's people who can do one thing really good, and there's other people that will look at that's very technical and say, I could never do that. So I think it's an important takeaway.
It is, Ronan. And I think when people hear the likes of you and Anne-Marie speaking, you give much more of an insight into what the world of IT is all about. Whereas if you go back 10 years, and you may have said it, Anne-Marie, it's always been, a dressed in black nerd doing heavy duty programming. And that's what people's perception of tech has been. And it's alienated and isolated females. So yeah, I totally agree with you. There's a huge skill set and a huge plethora of careers out there to be had in tech. Anne-Marie, have you any final thoughts?
No, I really enjoyed the session. I was very privileged to be in such great company, both Elaine and Ronan, and I felt a little not worthy, but really enjoyed the conversation, Ronan, and we'll pick up a few of your points and action them as well. So thanks a million for including me today.
Absolutely. And thanks so much to the Chamber for putting on Toys4Engineers, which is just brilliant for the Southeast and for the country at large. And for anyone who's been looking at social media and the Irish Times, Waterford has been confirmed as the best place to live in Ireland. I've been saying it and shouting it for the last 3 years. 15 minutes from the beach, the mountains, the city, the Greenway. We've got so much to offer in the Southeast, and Waterford Council have put together a Find Your Future video that we're now going to screen. Thank you.
I think the word cluster is very, very important, because that signifies to anybody that's looking to come to the Southeast that there are other opportunities for them. There's over 100, I believe, tech companies at the moment based within Waterford and in the Southeast region. That, as well as a wonderful quality of life, the fact that there were so many opportunities and so many different global companies within Waterford that people could move around. Waterford Find Your Future, it's a very realistic statement to make. We've now managed to grow and scale our business to a staff of over 60, and we've done all that based within Waterford. So there most definitely is a future for companies or for people if they choose Waterford as their base.
There's so much here, I feel very fortunate to be living here. Tremendous support. We've great staff, all local, and it's just, it's a great spot to live. So I was born and bred here and lived in a lot of places around the world, but was fortunate to get to come back to Waterford and continue our family business. It's a fantastic place to live. We're 4 miles from the sea. You've Tramore, Dunmore, you've the Cumra Mountains.
We employ about 800 people here in Waterford. The company is about 100,000 people worldwide. Why was Waterford selected? It's a great location, good infrastructure, road and rail for both people and product. It's cost competitive, but mostly we came to Waterford for the people. In terms of bringing up a family, Waterford has a huge amount to offer. Great schools, both junior and senior cycle. Waterford is Ireland's best kept secret in terms of quality of life.
Waterford has certainly been a pivotal part of the company's success. We kind of often joke locally about it being a non-kept secret. We're working with some of the top health systems in the United States. We've got quite a diverse population in Waterford. We as a company have employed people with multilingual expertise, speaking multiple different languages. Waterford people have a very strong work ethic, have great communication skills, good problem solving skills. Find your future in Waterford. I think there's lots of opportunities, whatever your interests are, if it's sport, if it's the music scene, if it's the cultural scene, we've got all of that in abundance. So I think, Waterford, it's a good place to live, work and, actually grow your career as well.